Howdy peeps, all doing well. I haven't done a video for a while, haven't really felt like it. Just can't be bothered, if I'm honest. I get the distinct impression that people really don't care. I suppose it kind of makes sense because to a point I don't care either. It's... I'm going to talk a bit about the channel and the sort of whys and wherefores and everything. So I did a video a little while ago, the one that got 1,000 views, and I've spoken about that a few times. And whereas I'm talking about toxic people and them toxic people being in your social group, your friends, and what they do and why I don't like them. Not the friends, the toxic people. It's either exactly that, and what the sort of point of that video is like, I'm giving my perspective of, if you sit on the fence with someone that has wronged someone else in one way or another, you're as bad as the person that wronged them. It's not, it's down to that, oh well, they ain't done nothing to do me over, so they're alright. Well, let's look at that a bit deeper. Right, so what you're saying is, in that social circle, it is okay for them to bad chat someone else, chat shit about someone else, someone that is your friend, and you're okay with that. Now let me tell you what used to happen in my circle of friends back in the day. Newcomers were vetted. You know, we wanted to know that this person, whoever they were, male or female, that they were of the same mindset and had the same morals as the rest of us, because if they didn't, there's the potential that it's going to cause a problem. And this did prove to be the case on a few occasions. Now the thing is I get that not everyone likes everyone in the social groups, right? And no one wants to exclude anyone else, because then that's you're being horrible because you're excluding someone. It's like, well, you're not. If they're a toxic person, then they're not. You're not being horrible to them. You know, you're doing what is right by your social group, by your actual friends. Now the problem with this is a lot of people out there have been so used to being surrounded by toxic people, and so used to just accepting them as being, oh, that's the way they are. Well, where does that stop? Do you wait until you're in a position where one of them gets you thrown in jail for a night for something that you didn't do, because they decided to pass the buck and just deny any kind of responsibility that they would have actually had? And this is just metaphorical, this is just an example, right? At which point do you draw that line? More importantly, what if it was one of your friends that was in that situation, that the actions of the air quotes toxic person got one of your friends thrown inside for a night? What then? Do you blame the person that got caught because they got, that got set up, that got caught? Well, they didn't get caught because they didn't do anything. It's all metaphorical. But is it their fault? Or do you feel sympathy for them because they're the ones that got in trouble, and meanwhile the other person got away with it? And if you knew that the other person was responsible for it, and this is where I talk about enabling people's shitty behaviour. I won't do it. If I think someone's a prick, I'll tell them. Simple as that. And if they cause a problem to my circle of friends, I'll fuck them off out. And I've done that quite a few times over the years, and people don't really like it. And you end up losing a lot more friends as a result. But, that's why I kind of like to re-emphasise on that. It's like, I would rather lose a group of fake friends, right, than be in a situation where one might compromise me. Because any friend that doesn't stand by the rest of them and call the other person out for their fuckery, rather than sitting on the fence and being what I would best describe as being a pussyhole. Sorry, I'm sure that might have offended a few people, because you know that they are out there. And chances are you know that that's exactly what they do. Maybe it's even you that this could be referred to. It is possible. But then you see, it comes that thing of whereas that situation where these toxic people, they do the sort of slander, right? Oh yeah, well I don't like this person because da 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 da, and they make an example of them, and then have the nerve to point. This comes down to narcissism as well. It's to do with the personality disorders, right? Alcoholics a lot of the time do suffer with this. They will literally cut the nicest spite in the face. I think that's the way the expression goes. But they'll do that. And the thing is, if you choose that side, you got to seriously think. It's like, well, when are you going to be next? Because it could well happen. Now, a lot of the time they won't, because despite being dumb as fuck, these people are actually quite not clever. They're not intelligent. They're just sneaky. That's all that it is. And they rely on the lack of awareness of others in order to get away with their fuckery. That's basically how they do it, you know. But like I say, personally, I've seen quite a few groups of friends get divided up as a result of this. And it's always, I won't even make excuses for the people that enable it. And what I tend to do is I slowly tend to distance myself further and further away from them, because I ain't got time for it. If you're going to sit on the fence on something, if you know someone is bad-mouthing someone else, right, and they are literally alienating you from them in that sense, they ain't a good person. And I'm sorry that I have to be the person that points this out in a fucking video of all things. It's like educating people on toxicity. But, like I said, sometimes if people have been brought up with it, they don't know any better. And I won't lie, this is something that has happened in quite a few, like I said, in quite a few of my circle of friends. And then the rest of them say, you don't hang out with us no more. And then I'll point out it's because that individual ain't good. They ain't good. Their morals are fucking gone. That they have no morals. All they have is their own personal interest. And I ain't got time for people like that. And of course, at the same time, they're the first person that will play the victim at the same time. As soon as you call them out on their shit, they will play the victim. Oh yeah, but yeah, fuck off, mate. You're being a cunt, right? It's as simple as that. You've been brought up that way. There's no fixing you. You're the problem. But oftentimes, what they will tend to do is point out their own fuckery on other people. I've explained about projection. People projecting their fears and insecurities onto others. This is something that doesn't really work with me, because I'm just sort of like, no, I know who I am as a person. I know what I will and won't put up with. So when it comes down to that sort of a scenario, it's like, nah, mate, no, you ain't going to get away with it. And to so much so that I wish sometimes that so many people would open their eyes and see things for what they are. It's simple. This is the worst part. It's actually really quite simple. And like I said, I don't know whether it's some sort of failure to cognitively recognise that there's a problem going on, or whether it's just blissful ignorance. I mean, okay, let me put it another way. And I'm going to go to extremes on this one, right? Because it's the best way of doing it. Sometimes it really catches the edginess and the spiciness really catches people's attention. If you know someone within your circle of friends that is a known nonce, right? Do you still hang about with that same group of friends? Bearing in mind what's going to happen eventually, it's like, when people start catching on, it's like, oh yeah, they're part of that group of friends, and it's like, oh yeah, well that must be some sort of nonce ring, right? Like I said, it's a bit of an extreme example, but I know that it will get people's attention. This is the thing with doing videos. You have to say things like that to get people. And it's a shame. It's a shame you just can't talk to them like a normal individual for them to understand it. to get to the basis of what you're talking about. But it is what it is. But yeah, would you carry on hanging out with them if you knew that about? No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Well, look, there's very little difference between. Well, okay, maybe there is, right? But the basic principle is the same. You know that the person is toxic. And even though they put on this facade of being all nice to your face, this is why I talk about narcissism so much on the channel. You know, because it's a projected front. They will act like one person in front of one bunch of people, another person in front of another. And, you know, they end up with this multi-character, I guess, kind of role that they play. And then there's what they do, you know, like when there's someone there that they don't like, and the bullying and the victimization, and all the while still trying to play the victim. This is what I'm just so not fucking down with, man. It's like these people that they just accept these friendships with other people on the basis that, oh well, they know them from this and they know them from that, and oh, so and so said. It's like, look, when it came down to friendships, people coming into the group of friends back then, is you had, if it was one of your friends, you had to sponsor that person. So your word, right? You stand in for the responsibility of that person. And if the newcomer then fucks up by being a fucking loudmouth or something like that, not only does that person get cast out of the social group, but the person that was the sponsor, as it were, also got told about themselves, and a lot of the time kicked out from the social group as well. Why do you think that is? This is something that people don't do anymore. Why? Have people lowered their standards as to what they see as acceptable? I mean, if you had a friend that you didn't want them to be abused, as it were, verbally, have the piss taken out of them and all this, right? And you invited someone into that social group, and that's exactly what they did. I mean, short of taking them to one side and saying, look, you're being a bit out of order, you know, leave them alone, right? If they still carried on, what do? Do you blame the other person, the one that's getting all the flack? I mean, and banter is different, don't get me wrong, right? Or do you oust the other person? Because in this day and age, it seems like you just seem to accept the other person despite the fact that they are abusive and manipulative. What is that about? Like, what has happened to our society? Has it actually become? Have people been that much abused that they suffer greatly with the cognitive dissonance towards the abuse that has happened to them, and then when they see it, other people doing it, they just accept it as is? I don't get it. I don't. And this is why, for me, it's hard for me to make friends with people, because I expect a lot from them. And it's even harder to keep that friendship going when you've got any bullshit like that on the side. A lot of the time I'm just like, gone. If you're going to value someone else over someone that has bad-mouthed others in the group or whatever the social setting, if you're going to choose them over the ones that are actually loyal to you, the ones that do actually have your back, the ones that do help you out, then the problem isn't with that person, it's with you and with the other. But people, like I say, I don't know why they don't see it, but it's one of them. That's why, for me at least, friendships are far more difficult than what they've been, you know, what they were. At least people's word meant something. And when you were bringing a newcomer into the group, you know, you're responsible for them. But yeah, to a degree, this is why I kind of prefer that sort of friend setting, rather than the, oh, everyone's our friend because. No, Not everyone is your friend. Get this in your head. Not everyone is your friend just because you know them. Doesn't make them your friend. In the same sort of sense is where, as I've said time and time before with regards to the whole red pill thing and men going their own way, it's like, you want to see if that girl's love you? Book yourself a month and a half vacation, tell her you've lost your job, see how long she stays. Pretty harsh test. And be prepared for the worst. It might not happen, but there's a chance that it might. But it will also give you clear insight as to the type of relationship you actually have, rather than the one that you think you have. Anyway, that's enough rabbing it on for the last 15 minutes. Thoughts, comments and opinions, feel free to jot them down as always. Hopefully people will start caring a bit more about things that get said on the internet and the points that people are trying to make in order to help others out, making better decisions and a better life for yourselves, which is basically all I've really tried to do. But like I said, no one cares, I think. That's the impression I get, or maybe it's my own little mindset, is where it just seems no one cares. But anyway, until the next one, stay cool, stay free, peace out.